I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman, because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Good evening. As your county auditor, I'd like to call this January 14th, 2025 Madison County Council meeting to order. With the absence of a president and a vice president, we're going to proceed directly into nominations for both offices.
I'd like to nominate Jodi Norrick for council president.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations for council president?
Yes, I would like to nominate Dr. Scott Green, council president.
Okay. Since we have two, do we have any others?
I'd like to move that we open the floor for discussion.
I don't think that's appropriate for this particular vote, but we can ask your sit-in attorney if you want. Okay, that's not appropriate for the president and the vice president, but I'll tell you how we're going to vote, since there's only two. It's going to be one or the other. So we'll have Kara call the roll call, and if when she calls your name, if you just state who you'd like to vote for president, that'd be great.
So is that, I'm so sorry, is that typical that you don't open to discuss?
Generally not on president or vice president. You do on all your other matters.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely you do.
But could we, even if it's not typical, it doesn't mean you could be. I did make a motion, if you'd like to second it, I'll second that.
Okay, we can. We have a motion and a second on the floor to discuss president and vice president. Kara, would you call a roll call vote for us?
Councilor Steele?
No.
Councilor Culp?
No.
Councilor Grabowski? Yes. Councilor Green?
No.
Councilor Likens? No. Councilor Norrick?
Yes.
Councilor Keller? Yes.
Okay, motion fails. So now we'll proceed with the
Second nomination. I didn't hear the second nomination.
the second nomination. I'm sorry.
Is there a second for nomination?
I don't think you need a second for nomination either. So Now, if you would like to proceed, we'll call the roll call vote, and please just state who you would prefer to, between the two nominations, who you would like to have as president. Kara, could you please proceed with the roll call?
Counselor Steele,
Green.
Counselor Culp,
Green.
Counselor Grabowski, Norrick, Counselor Green,
Green.
Counselor Likens, Green, of course. Counselor Norrick, Norrick. Counselor Keller, Norrick.
So 4-3 vote with Scott Green winning the nomination for president. We'll proceed the same way with vice president. I'd like to open the floor for nominations for vice president.
Nominate Jodi Norrick for vice president.
No.
Are there any other nominations for vice president? Kara, would you proceed with the roll call vote?
Counselor Steele,
Yes.
Counselor Culp,
Yes.
Counselor Grabowski. Yes. Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Likens. Yes. Counselor Norrick. Yes. Counselor Keller. Yes.
Okay, so Scott Green will be our president. Jodi Norrick will be the vice president of the council. At this time, Jodi, would you switch seats with Kristi Grabowski? President Green, at this time, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Would you say our prayer?
I would love to say the prayer. Let's bow our, you can stand and bow your head. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for who you are and what you do for us. You're glorious and worthy to be praised. We thank you for this new year that you brought us into, and we thank you for this new council and other new officers around the county. We pray that you give us wisdom to do your will. We pray that you help us to work together respectfully and kindly, and that we make good decisions for the taxpayers of our county. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
You'll turn to the flag. We'll say pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Counselor Steele,
Here.
Counselor Culp,
Here.
Counselor Norrick. Here. Counselor Likens. Here. Counselor Grabowski. Here. Counselor Keller. Here. President Green.
Next on the agenda is approval of minutes. These would be the four members who were here in November.
I move we approve the minutes from the November 12th, 2024 meeting.
Councilor Keller and Councilor Norrick, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of minutes passes. The approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Councilor Steele,
Second.
Councilor Likens. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. There won't be much comment tonight. I guess I would just say I'm grateful for the confidence shown me, and I will work to reward your trust. Auditors reports.
I'll wait until you get the paper that I'm passing down. Keep my comments brief as well. You ended the year in the general fund with $11,223,068. That's a great position to be in at the end of the year. What I've passed out to you is a cash flow spreadsheet for 2024. And the reason that you can see that you're in a great position is if you look at May, if you look at the month of May column at the bottom, at the end of the month, you were down to $1,954,535. You started the year at $10,583,506. The important part about the general fund is that the vast majority of the money, or I'd say about half of the money, comes from property taxes. We must have that year-end number to be able to sustain until we get to those property taxes in June and December. So if you'll follow the cash down at the bottom of the sheet and the cumulative fund balance, it continues to go down. It goes from 8.8 at the end of January, 6.2 at the end of February, 3.3 at the end of March, 2.8 at April, down to $1.9 million in May. Okay, after the settlement happens, property tax settlement, we're back up to 12.7 million in June, 11.5 in July, 8.9 in August, 7.9 in September, 3.9 in October, 1.6 in November. Again, there's your other area that you got to watch for. You always got to watch for May and November to make sure you can cash flow the general fund, that you don't run out of money. December settlement comes in, you're back up to 11. So you can see that we're going to start the same cycle for 2025. We'll have a little higher budget, but we're going to be starting with 11.2. I think that's a great number to start with. You're in good condition to start the year with the budget that you passed. The reason we get so concerned about the general fund is because it funds the vast majority of departments in the county. If you hear us talk about grant funds or special revenue funds, generally only one department's running out of those funds. We're concerned about the general fund, the public safety fund, because multiple departments use those. Okay, and it's the council's job to manage the cash in those funds. In funds that are grant funds or special revenue funds that one department has responsibility over, it's their job to manage the cash. They have to manage both the cash and get the authority to spend them. But with the general fund and public safety fund, it's the council's job to manage that cash so that all the needs in the county can be met. So that's why you'll see us continually focus on the general fund and the public safety fund, is because the multiple departments are using that fund, and they're relying on you to have the money to pay the bills that you allowed them appropriations to spend. I think I sent you an email already. We have funds ledger. We have many, many funds. I'll send you that on a monthly basis so you know where balances are and you can see those different funds. There are all kinds of funds. If you have questions about the funds, don't hesitate to email us and we'll be glad to tell you what they are. Yes, I put that out earlier today. We just closed out for the year. Also, as we go into the year, I'll start sending you more financial reports. As we're going through January, we'll let you know what is expended, particularly in the general fund, public safety fund, so that you'll know how departments are spending their budgets, how much percentage of their budget they're spending for a year. And some of it will make sense, some of it won't. Some money gets spent right away, some money doesn't get spent until the end of the year. But it often depends on the expenditure category. Speaking of expenditure categories, there's 4 main categories. There's the 10,000 series. Those are payroll lines. Okay, so the 10,000 series, anything you do with the 10,000 series where you're adding to a payroll line, you'll have a salary ordinance. Okay, the second is the 20,000 series. These are supply lines. It's just supplies, no services, supplies. So whether it be office supplies or fuel, or if you were buying oil, something like that, toner, printer cartridges, all that type of stuff. The 30,000 series of lines are services. Okay, all those are going to be paid to some other company to provide a service. And the 40,000 lines are capital improvements. So either buildings or vehicles or equipment, anything of that nature. So if you can get that series down, it's really easy. 10,000 payroll, 20,000 supplies, 30,000 services, 40,000 capital equipment or capital purchases. The main reason we have subcategories is that so we can track that information for you. It's actually so much of what we do in our office is we're pigeonholing these expenses so that you can track them. We think it's very important that you know how much is spent in 35,000, which would be utilities. We want you to be able to track, hey, this is all utilities, so that you can spike it out and think about how much they need. If you think about a couple of the lines, they end up overlapping each other. Take professional services, for instance, it was 31,000. That we generally want paid to CPAs, attorneys, things of that nature. Okay, but 39,000 is almost a catch-all, and it's other services and charges. Oftentimes you'll see when they appropriate a grant, they're going to appropriate it all in 39,000 other services and charges. And you can change that if you want to, but it's not necessary because of the nature of those funds, because they're individually controlled and they have to manage both the cash and the spending of that. Now, a lot of times when you see transfers throughout the year, sometimes we're pushing a transfer because we don't like a category that different departments are paying out of. And we're always trying to pigeonhole those expenses so that you can track them. That information is more important to you than it is to us. We don't care where people spend their money. Okay, you've appropriated the money. We don't have any authority in our office to stop a purchase, assuming they have an appropriation and the invoice is right. And we do have the authority to stop them if it's in the wrong category. Okay, so all the categorization in those series, that's our work that we're doing for you so you can better understand how the money's spent. So at budget time, it makes a whole lot more sense to you instead of just, you could theoretically lump it all into 30,000 services and have all those lines combined and let them spend it however they want. But then it doesn't give you the ability to say, okay, this is how much they need for utilities. This is how much they're needing for this service or that service. So all that work we do is for you to help you at budget time. So I think that's all I had that I want to discuss this evening. So if you had any questions about the cash flow sheet or any other questions, I'd be glad to entertain them if you'd like.
I do have a question, if I may. I know many years that, and like you said, we are in good shape. However, with the new governor, and I think some of the exciting things that he's planning to do,
yes,
that will benefit a lot of people. It may not be so easy for some of the counties, of course, to put the bill on things that we have in the past. Lower interest rates, and we've made a jail payment, so, and then our rainy day fund obviously has decreased from some of that. And I guess in my opinion, would your caution be to really acknowledge new money? I mean, and just really be careful about our spending, as always. I know it's a given, but in this year, is this any different, a little more unique?
I'll speak generally about some of the comments that you made. Governor Braun's promise property tax reform. which is very concerning, seeing how you get a large portion. If you look at 2024, the very top expenditure line or receipt line is property tax. It brought in $22,850,000 of the $52,000 that you brought in. Okay, so it's almost half, and it actually is roughly half of your budget. So if they go cutting property tax, that is a big concern. The other thing that you touched on, which is very important to consider, is the interest rates. The interest rates are starting to come down, which will impact what the county treasurer will be able to make. We also have balances coming down. We'll have the ARPA balance coming down swiftly over the next 2 years because it's got to be spent by the end of 26. So that's definitely something to. We've been fortunate because our county treasurer Dan Gert, he's earned so much money the last few years, so it's given the council a big cushion. Okay, but that's going to start to go away, so we are going to have to be more cautious when it comes to budget time. So, does that answer your question? Are there any other questions? Thank you, Council. I'm looking forward to working with you this year.
Business. We have our Director of Soil and Water, it's Brandy here.
Yep.
You have an introduction.
I do. I am Brandy Frazier. I'm the Executive Director with Soil and Water. I actually just came. I want to thank you guys for supporting Soil and Water, approving our budget. We do have our own working budget, but my pay comes through the county general fund, and then we have a small operating budget. We have programs that we run through Soil and Water to get our own funds to be able to do different things, but we couldn't do it if you guys didn't support, at least the wages that we have, the budget that we have. If you guys didn't support that, we couldn't do what we do. So I have been working really hard. I've been talking to the commissioners. We really needed an MS4 coordinator, which we work really close with the MS4 partnership. So I applied for a Clean Water Indiana grant that got funded. We got $120,000 for 3 years to fund Krista Bosman. She's going to be, her soil and water title will be urban conservationist, but she'll also be the MS4 coordinator for the county. We have that funded for 3 years. I'm hoping in the 3 years to show you guys the value of that position, and we can talk in the next 3 years about hopefully getting that funded. So we did, we worked with we got a letter of support from the commissioners so we're paid with the grant's going to pay the wages, and then the commissioners will pay the benefits for that position for the 3 years. So that was our matching fund. When I did apply for it and I had the letter of support from the commissioners, everyone there was like, oh, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. So that was a big thing, especially with Soil and Water. So I just that was my biggest thing, was to come here today. I know not a lot of, everyone's new, not everyone, but the new council members, and not a lot of people know what Soil and Water do. And I just don't want you guys at budget time to think, yeah, we're not real sure what they do. Let's not include them. So, if you have any questions for me, I will be happy to answer any that you have. But again, this is Krista. She's repping our new logo. So I did not wear that today. But if you have anything that you need for MS4, just let us know, because obviously she will be in our office, but she will be working with the surveyors and everybody through the partnership for the MS4 coordinator.
Any questions? Welcome.
Okay, thank you so much.
Better? Perfect. Very good. We have a request from the Anderson Public Library Board. We got a letter from Ms. Waterman, who made a request. Dwayne Hoke, who's a gentleman who's going off their board and needed a council appointment, requested Robin Wagner. Is there anyone who would make a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Counselor Norrick and second by Counselor Likens. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Robin is the new member for the last year of that term. Next is an appointment for the Anderson Economic Development Board. Mr. Vaughn was the member from the council, and we need to have a replacement for actually the last year of his 4-year term. Is there someone who would have an interest or willingness to participate in the Anderson Economic Development?
I would be willing. I've attended one of the meetings on before, so.
That's great. I would take a motion for Councilor Grabowski to be our representative.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilor Norrick, second by Councilor Likens. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Congratulations, thank you. We have a request for out-of-state travel. Our first is the assessor's office, Mr. Davis.
President Graham, members of the council, each and every year we come out before the council to ask for out-of-state travel for continuing ed. We utilize the sales disclosure fund. What Auditor Culp was telling you about different funds, this fund was actually set up by the state of Indiana. It doesn't come out of the general fund. It's a fund that's actually allocated for education and continuing ed and training of the assessors. And that could be found in Indiana Code 6-1.15-5. But we've given you a request for the whole year. This is something that we budgeted for last year, started in June. These are the things we budgeted for, so it's been properly budgeted with the sales disclosure fund. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. We actually put on each one 4 attendees, and you have to be a level 3 to do out-of-state travel. We have level 2, so I know there was a question last year. A level 2, we can find that education here in the state of Indiana. But once you become a level 3, you can't continue to take the same classes that you've taken to get to the level 3 status. So this gives them the opportunity. We're required by law to have so many hours of continuing education each year. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Councilor Likens. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Steele. Any discussion or any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Central Dispatch.
Good evening, Council. Jenny Chambers, Madison County Central Dispatch. I am seeking approval from the council for out-of-state travel for 2025 and also to approval for the second part of our employee raises that was implemented in November of last year. For our out-of-state travel, the first request is for the Tyler Connect 2025 conference. On each of these requests, I put up to 2 and 4 employees. Not saying that we will send 2 or 4, but we would like to have that option if we could. The first conference is the Tyler Tech conference in San Antonio. This is our CAD vendor, and I would like approval from the council to send 2 employees. Our next out-of-state travel is our NINA conference. This conference and also the next APCO conference that I'm going to go over. These 2 conferences are something that we attend every year. They do have scholarships available that our employees do apply for. However, we don't know who was awarded the scholarship until right before the conference. The NINA conference that is in Long Beach, California, and the APCO conference that is in Baltimore, Maryland. All 3 of these conferences are eligible, an eligible expense out of our statewide 911 fund 1222.
Thank you. Any questions? Your motion. Councilor Norrick, second?
Second.
Councilor Likens. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item that I have for approval from the council is for the second part of the employee raise. If some of the council may recall, in November, Central Dispatch employees received a raise. I had discussed that we were going to do this in two parts, with the raise being implemented in November and for the new year. So in November, the council approved for employee rate or hourly raise to be increased to $25.01. This is the second part of the request, and requesting for their hourly rate to be increased to $25.16. This will put us back on track for 2025 and the years to come.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, do I need to
actually-
review this
was
in
just
the-
going to ask that
I was
question.
under the impression it was new
We're out of
business.
order, and I apologize, but we're going to have you
Oh, I
come back
apologize.
when the time is right. So,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, sorry.
Sorry about that. The auditor's office.
We only have one conference that we travel out of state to. This is the GFOA annual conference. It's the Government Finance Officers Association meeting. You'll notice that I've also have an auditor/council. We budgeted money for the council to travel to or for training, and we would highly recommend, if any of you have time. We understand it's about a 4-day conference, but if you have time, there's money for you in that fund, and we would love to have you go with us. It's the most educational conference I've ever been to for government finance. So, I have on my office the auditor plus 2 deputies. This year it's on June 29th to July the 2nd. It's in Washington, D.C. this year. So the approximate cost is $4,725.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes,
Is that, where does that money come from, that fund that we have for the?
it comes from the transfers of when people transfer deeds. So the fees that you pay often, yeah.
It's the 1217.
And there are certain elected
It's the
offices.
1217.
Last year, the state legislature included the county council. So we took the opportunity to put that in the budget for you, just in case you wanted to travel to some of these training events.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilor North, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Likens. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion passes. Next on the agenda is a discussion of legal counsel. Zach, thanks for being here tonight. Our legal counsel has requested that their firm wrap up this year. They gave us January and February to cover us until we were able to transition. Council Likens has done some research about this, and if you had a chance to check your emails today, there were 5 firms that she talked with and brought proposals. 4 of them articulated a proposal. One of them said that they felt like there was a conflict. Would that be an accurate assessment?
Yes, that's.
Yeah. So what we need to do tonight is to discuss transition of legal counsel and how we want to go about making a decision as to who would be our new legal counsel.
Diane, I read this really quick because I didn't see it till late. I saw that,
Can you talk in your mic?
oh, sorry. I saw that Ice Miller, was that the one that had the conflict?
Yes.
Yes.
And then, was there another one that declined? Because I didn't see another one that declined, or was it just that one?
I believe that was.
Oh, okay, so the other 4 are up for grabs, okay.
And I did bring, if you want to take it home with you, I did bring 4 copies. I'm happy to give you more if you would prefer a hard copy tonight. So you can, however this discussion goes, if you want to take it home and look it over, if you don't want to print it out, or I'm here if you want to look over it right now. I'm happy to give you the hard copy if anyone needs any.
I mean, it might be good for us to be able to table this and just look through this and have a discussion next month on it.
Also, what would happen if you could summarize those? It's a woman like Likens, if they're similar. And I know some gave hourly rates, monthly, what they do, and so we have an ability to compare the four.
You want me to summarize those for February?
Or, yeah, you can just distribute it to the council, have Rick, Todd send it out. If you can.
Yeah, oh, I can do that. No, well, each of, I think 3 of them were really similar in how they submitted the proposals, if you will. And one was just more general. I think the one thing we need to pay attention to is all of them are agreeable to do some type of a hybrid fee, whether it's a monthly retainer or an hourly rate. They would do either or depending on our needs. And but a few of the monthly retainers are lower. But for example, one charges for mileage, so or one does this or does this. So I just think, yes, I'm happy to prepare that and send it out before the February meeting. But just looking over the information, and if anyone obviously has another idea, those were just suggestions I was given. I looked into those 5, and this is
Current council is paid monthly, and there's a certain amount of hours of consultation, certain ordinances or minimum ordinances that they'll prepare. Anything above that, we pay per hour. It's usually been pretty good. If we had a quick question, they didn't charge us if it's under 15 minutes. Those are little details that kind of looking forward to compare.
And I do think that they would, each of them would be flexible as far as if we have our own demands, so to speak, put together, you know, things that we like, things that we didn't like, and how many is included. One has offered to do training, and I think that would be really important. I'm not saying that the rest of them wouldn't, they just may not have thought to offer.
If I remember right, 2 were Indianapolis, one in Hendricks County, which is quite a bit of ways, and one in Muncie, which I knew you or somebody was going to check to see. We've kind of exhausted Madison County here, and Jodi, I don't know if you have, Councilwoman Norrick, any ideas? Anyone locally?
I have
Seem
one
to
person I
squeeze.
can talk to. I haven't mentioned it to him, but I have in the past, but I don't know that he'd be interested. It's local. I can have that for the next council meeting, or I'll get it to you beforehand if you're interested.
Councilwoman Likens, can you send us the contract that we have for anybody who provides that?
Yes, I
So
can
that
do
we can
that.
kind of compare our options now to what we currently have.
That's a good idea. Sure, I can do that. Thank
It's
you.
a good suggestion. That way we can compare what we have now
Exactly.
with on your spreadsheet I've asked you to do.
Sure. I can do it.
Thank you. Thank you for the suggestion.
So process-wise, Councilor Norrick, I'm gathering what you are proposing is that we table tonight's decision for until next month, gathering research collectively and reviewing that as individuals and come back next month to make a decision. Are you making the motion to that effect? Is there a second? Second. Councilor Culp, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion passes. We will hope to make a decision next month. Well, we will make a decision next month. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you will. Time for transfers. Our first transfer is juvenile probation.
Good evening, I'm Tracy Lane with Juvenile Probation. I just have a very small transfer. We have a diversion planning grant through the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute. We just need to move some funding, about $1,000 from our $39,000 other services line to supplies. This would cover some postage, business cards, paper, ink, envelopes, and things as we move to get our diversion program going.
Casey, is that changed from what you submitted? Because that was $3,000.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had emailed Todd about that. Yes, I need to reduce that from 3,000 to 1,000. We don't need anything moved to equipment as was originally requested, and just 1,000 to supplies and operating expenses. Thank you.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilman discussion or question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. Next is the prosecutor's office.
Good evening, Council. Andrew Hanna, Chief Deputy Prosecutor. We have a request to transfer our existing STOP grant funds as we received permission from STOP to sort of change our special victims unit and expand somewhat to provide domestic violence resource prosecutors. So that's what these transfers make up, is just that sort of change in sort of our allocation of STOP grant funding.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Councilor Likens, is there a second?
So moved.
Councilor Norrick. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Thank you, Council.
Next is Central Dispatch. She's coming back. Thank you for honoring the order here.
Jenny Chambers, Madison County Central Dispatch. I am here asking the council for approval for the second part of our employee raise that was implemented in November of last year, increasing the employees' starting rate from $25.01 to $25.16. This will put us on track for 2025 and moving forward.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilor Norrick, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Norrick. Thank you. I wasn't sure. I knew it came that directly. Is there any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Would you like me to go through the transfer? The transfers is just to reflect the employee raise from last year and this year.
Good.
Thank you.
Sheriff.
Hello, Council, John Beeman. And we got these transfers. First one, the 5,000 is from the sex offender fund for the individuals that are in the office of deal sex offenders. That's what we're allowed to utilize those funds for those employees. And then the others are the 125s to make up the longevity. We found some money within our lines to cover longevity for the 5 individuals that are on the sheriff's side for their longevity pay. And then the beeper stipend, there again, we found money in our lines to cover the difference that was cut during the budget process to cover those individuals on call for the rest of the year.
Sheriff, can you give a little bit of explanation? Just, I know it's probably a question in the council's mind about the transfer for the sheriff's department, taking it from the patrol lines and why we're able to do that.
Well, we had a retirement of a lieutenant, so when we filled that position, the lieutenant retired after we'd already submitted our budget, so his pay was already set. So when the new lieutenant goes in, it's a lower pay position. So we had that money available to make the transfer.
And then also on the longevity, it was not included in the matrix, correct?
That is correct during the budget process, right?
That was your advice not to do.
Right.
So on the beeper stipend, how much did you spend out of that line item for 2024?
The $20,000.
20?
Right. We asked for 20 in the budget. We got 12. This 8 would make it whole back to the $20,000 for the year.
And there's no way you could operate on the 12,000 for this year that we approved.
Well, because it goes through the individual on call, like whether it's the detective, victim advocate, and then on the jail side, we got individual special deputies are on call for weekend duties and they get called in for that.
I guess what Councilman Keller is asking, is there much flexibility there as far as the beeper stipend?
Well, a lot of it's dictated, we are scheduled the individuals on call. So then they're scheduled, that's automatic, right? We'll have a detective on call, we'll have a victim's advocate on call, and then we got individuals in the jail on call. And then once they are called in, then it goes into, overtime at that point in time.
So this stipend is just for them being available.
Right, the
When they
$100.
get called in or
Right,
not.
exactly. It's $100 a week.
So it's more like an on-call pay.
Yes. I don't know why they call it beeper stipend, but back in the day when they set it up, it was probably beepers.
Is there a way to change that, I wonder?
Well, we can ask the new auditor about changing that line.
I would ask maybe the council members who were through the budget process. I mean, there was a request for 20,000. 12 was allocated. So we're now getting a new request for 8. So we're kind of bypassing the budget allocation you guys made a couple of months ago.
Well,
And that's the request. Is that my understanding?
kind of, not really, because, and this year they're transferring it, they're not asking for new money. So he's moving the money around in his budget because this has gotta be paid or covered. The council made a decision to cut that budget, not because the sheriff thought it needed to be cut. Does that make sense?
And all of these officers, Sheriff, sorry, just a question, all officers' funds that you pulled from to put into the stipend fund, is the retirement process the case for all of them?
Right, yeah, we had a change in personnel to allow for
like,
that money.
Next year, when the budget comes around, those positions aren't gonna be in there needing to be budgeted.
Right,
That one.
yeah, that's correct. And we're going to ask for $20,000 again in the budget process come, so.
Just a question. So you have another officer that's moving up in pay. We give you this 8,000. At that point, you're going to have to come back and ask for more money to raise to be able to pay the money, because eventually you'll have an officer that moves back into the category that this guy who retired.
Right, retired, left, you know, the lieutenant retired.
Based on seniority, they were paid much higher.
Right.
So that gap is there and available where it goes back to John.
So but you're taking that gap and moving it to the beeper side. So when you have another officer move into that pay range, you're going to have to come back for more.
An officer won't move into that pay range because of the seniority. We have an officer in that position now, but he's at a much lower rate, and he's going to be set unless he gets promoted to another position. There again, if he replaces a more senior captain or sergeant or whatever position may be, then there will be funds there because of the seniority available or based on their pay. So everyone's salary is already set for the year, so no one's going to get an increase unless the council increases across the board for everybody.
I can kind of explain that. Like he said, that it was budgeted for a patrolman that was a 20-year patrolman that retired, and then a ranking officer. So the other people that's going in those lines, I've reduced that down to what there's enough funds in there for the full year to budget for them. So those are funds that we would just have sitting in that line that we were moving, so we don't have to ask for new money to supplement the on-call line. But those positions have they have the people in them now that's going to be in them with taking it down to what their salary will be.
And I think then the following year could be what you're saying as well, because as this progresses, I think
It would only go up 200 for their matrix.
a few departments have that.
The difference is the seniority. So if
No, I
you're
understand.
a 20-year employee,
Yes.
as opposed to a 5-year employee that's moving into a lieutenant spot, you've got a 15-year gap there of $200 each. So there's $3,000. That's where some of that money can be transferred over. Where your money's going to come in, where the question I think that you're asking is under the contract where the pay comes from. So like, yeah, you're going to upload it backwards, but it does fill in. It wouldn't be for the beeper stipend per se. It would be for salary, which is under our contract. So like I think it's already been agreed upon. You would have to fund whatever that is. If that makes sense.
Any other questions? I take a motion.
So moved.
Councilor Norrick, is there a second? Councilor Grabowski, any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Now it's time for request for new money. address this by fund or by department, I should say. And we have MC Casa.
Good evening, Council. I'm Steve Richardson, Program Director for Madison County Coalition Against Substance Abuse. And for the new members, we're designated as the local coordinating committee for the Governor's Council for Drug-Free Indiana. Why I'm here this evening, it's our annual grant cycle that we go through. The funds that we have are not taxpayer, are not tax funds. It's money paid by people that were convicted of an alcohol or drug offense that goes into this fund, excuse me, 1148, which is a local drug-free communities fund. And annually, committee meets made up of Olivia Pratt and another member that look at the grants. Grants are given in the 3 areas that's designated by state code. One category is prevention. An example of that is one of them is if you've had a chance to read the spreadsheet, is like Intersect does education. The other part, the second category is treatment, which would be the House of Hope. Frog recovery is an example of that, people in the treatment. And then the other section is the Justice Department, which we have some police departments, problem-solving courts, adult probation, and others. So that is set up by statute. It has to be divided equally in those 3 categories. So what I'm asking for this evening is a 31,000 professional fees. That's what's paid to me, and then 39,000 for the actual grants that will be going out of 52,500. So that's why I'm here today. We meet once a month, and we don't get a lot of outside people there because we have the meeting at 7:30 in the morning, and that's what they voted for. So most of the organizations have, their organizations to go to after the meeting, so they vote to have it early in the morning. So that's when we're there. Of one thing of note that this fund is about half of what it used to be when I started doing this about 9 years ago, when I was appointed director by the commissioners. The reason that the fund isn't what it once was is kind of good news. It's people that got a diversion from their offense that went through problem-solving courts or some other program, and they've got a diversion on their charge, and they're tax-paying members of the community again, and it's a good thing. There's not an organization or in our coalition that would want it any different. But the way that the statute is written, see, their conviction is deferred, so they don't pay. That amount of money does not get paid into this fund. We had Representative Kyle Pierce at our last meeting to answer any questions that any of our organizations might have. I guess I was kind of ignorant. I didn't realize how many representatives we just had in Madison County. They've chopped it up pretty good. But he's kind of like the main person, I guess, or he has most of it. And we asked Kyle to look at that. If they would change one sentence in the statute, say that you got a diversion, you were charged, you weren't convicted, you got a diversion, and with lots of stipulations, they could change one sentence and they would still have to pay into the thing. So I don't really see much happening with that, but anyway, he's aware of it, and he's going to take it to the legislature this year, because these are monies that the organizations could use, because and a lot of it, especially law enforcement, probation, they're doing all this work, and they really used to get some monies for it. There's not enough money in this fund to sustain, any of these organizations with everything, but it does help them in certain areas. So that's why I'm here this evening, and that's what we're about. So is there any questions that anybody's had a chance to look it over if they have?
Take a motion.
So moved.
Councilor Keller. Second. Councilor Likens. Any other questions? Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Opposed? Yes. Court Administration.
Good evening, Council. Tim States, Court Administrator for the Circuit Court. Here to seek appropriation for a grant for the Guardian Advocates. This is Fund 9137. It's money supplied by the Indiana Office of Court Services, and it's really for training and recruiting advocates for adults and seniors that are in need of care. So these advocates are assigned for seniors that are incapacitated or otherwise need care.
Questions? Take a motion. Councilor Norrick. Second.
Second?
Councilor Likens. Any other questions or discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
IT.
Good evening, Lisa Cannon, IT Director. I am asking for QMIT to be appropriated. It's a fund that we have, and at budget time somehow it was zeroed out. So can't spend it if I don't have it. These numbers are way above anything I'll ever hope to have. I think there's maybe around 60,000 in that fund, and that's the IT rainy day fund. I used a portion of it last year to pay Microsoft bills, so it's just kind of a little rainy day fund for our emergencies. I think it's in the 60s. We have always appropriated high in that so that we didn't have to bother you, coming back knowing that we've, never in our wildest imagination would we have that much money in that fund.
It was 110,000 plus at year end.
At year end that I used at year end. Okay.
That's from the report that Todd sent out.
And I have bills on my desk right now to pay that I couldn't pay at the beginning of the year to that because there was no appropriations. What happens is if an office, this is exactly what happened with this one, is the end of the year, I sent out an email, and you guys probably got it too, that said, be careful of your billing on the end of beginning of December for Amazon, because you're not going to get covered. The invoices don't come until January 1st. Auditor's office has to have an invoice dated prior to for grants. And an office ordered the last day of November and did not get a invoice on December 1st. That invoice didn't come until November 1st. So I invoiced her. That's why that money is so high right now. And then I will pay that bill when you reappropriate this money, and it'll drop that back down. I covered it so that she could get what she needed to spend in the grant.
So this cumulative IT fund is one of those miscellaneous funds And Lisa did present it during the budget workshops, but it was not included in any of our budget workshops or our printed material. And somewhere along the line, it did not get put into Indiana Gateway, so it wasn't advertised for the regular budget hearing that we did. It was left off the ordinance. And so this is a fund that she has every year. I checked the numbers here that she's asking to appropriate against the 2024 numbers. It's exactly the same. So it just, at some point, got overlooked during the budget process, and she needs it appropriated now so she can spend it. I second. I know you made the motion earlier, so I second.
Motion by Councilor Keller, second by Councilor Likens. Any other questions or discussion? Everybody clear? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Thank you. I've got one more thing real quick. Todd, is it out of, since it wasn't advertised, can I kind of hook on to what Jenny was talking about with out-of-state travel, or does it need to be advertised?
Out-of-state travel does not need advertising, but it'd be out of the form of the agenda that they have voted on.
Okay.
Leisure travel.
Did she leave? Tyler conference, is that that's in May, so I could come back next month. Okay.
Prosecutor?
Thank you, Council. Again, Andrew Hanna, Chief Deputy Prosecutor. We're just asking for the appropriation of the state funds to run our high-tech crime unit that we've operated since 2022. We are one of 10 counties that has a high-tech crime unit in the state of Indiana, and we are responsible for Madison, Hamilton, Johnson, Shelby, and Hancock counties. And these are just appropriation of those state funds. So it's something that we house here in Madison County. It's actually in a partnership with the Anderson Police Department. It's located in their basement, but this is just for our 2025 budget for the high-tech crime unit.
I'll take the motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Councilor Likens. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Steele. Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Thank you, Council.
Health Department.
Good evening, Steph Mellinger, Health Department. I have two grants to be appropriated. The first one being the HMEP, which is the Hazmat Emergency Planning Grant. This training is from the State Homeland Security Agency, and it goes specifically for our hazardous materials team for their training. Do you want me to tell you about the other one too at the same time, or do you want to put separate? Okay. And then the other one is the COVID Safety Compliance Fund. Just a little bit of background on this one for those council who are new. We received this grant the first time in 2021, and then again in 2022 and 2023. The title of this grant changed a few times, and initially it was the School Liaison Grant, and the state changed the name to the COVID Safety Compliance Grant. We still talk about it, refer to it in the health department as the School Liaison Grant. And I was able to visit with Counselor Grabowski the other day and explain all this to her and those others who have reached out and requested more information about our grants. I appreciate that. But as I was saying, so this actually is to support our school liaison. That's the initial reason why the grant money was given to the counties, is because during COVID, it was identified as a need that we need to better support the communication between local health departments and our school systems, the administration, the boards, the school nurses in particular. So that money was given to us in lump sums. We got a lump sum for those 3 years in a row. So that money is already there, and we're just asking to appropriate it. We now spend those funds on things to support schools, such as assistance with vision and hearing screenings, stop the bleed training, Narcan distribution and training, emergency medications such as epinephrine, albuterol, vaccination assistance, transcribing records, vaccination clinics, membership in community health social service provider networks, guidance for infectious diseases and outbreaks. This year we had outbreaks of pertussis, varicella, and pneumonia. First aid instruction, resource navigation, needs assessment, health supplies and hygiene donations. And so I guess one thing I'll say here in particular, we use this money for whatever schools may need in terms of resources. So for instance, It's all 390 because we never really know what's going to come our way. So we had Anderson Schools reach out to us specifically for supplies for young women in their periods. So how do you really denote that in a budget? So that's why we fit all these things under 390. Also Handle with Care, the program Handle with Care, gun safety, locks and pamphlets, water safety, and then also collaborating with Purdue Extension and the Minority Health Coalition for childhood wellness. So that in a it's a very broad grant that kind of goes towards a little bit of anything and everything. So I would just ask for the appropriation of those funds, which are already here in the county.
Councilor Norrick, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Grabowski, any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I just
Oh,
wanted,
sorry.
there's no new, this is when it's gone,
Right.
Right?
Right.
There's no new money
Right.
coming into this, so.
Yeah.
Once this is spent, that's it.
Exactly. And it used to cover the salary and benefits of our school liaison, which we have moved into Health First funds. So we are very considerate of where and how we spend our funds to make sure we're maximizing our resources. So we are particular, even though this might be one of the most flexible grants we have, we are particular about where we take our funds so that because we know that these funds are not going to come around again.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
No.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff.
Council, John Beeman. These are our special funds we have with the department. They were also submitted during the budget process, but didn't get approved for whatever reason, or allocated or appropriated, I guess is the proper term. So we're just asking for the appropriation now for the year.
Approved as presented in Mass Sheriff's Department.
Sorry. Councilor Steele, could you repeat that?
Move that we approve as presented all
Each of the funds under that.
each of the funds under that.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the funds articulated under the sheriff. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Likens, questions or discussion?
Are these more miscellaneous funds that were missed when we did the budget?
I don't know, understand what happened in the budget process, but they were submitted. I just didn't get appropriated.
So it's not that we denied the money, it's
No,
just that
no.
they were ignored.
They weren't passed or approved at that point in time.
Maybe we should have opened the miscellaneous fund when we adopted the budget.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Problem solving courts.
Good evening, Council. Judge Angela Sims, the Madison County Circuit Court Division 1, also serving as the Chief Judge for this year and the current presiding judge over the Madison County Problem Solving Court. I'm here in that capacity this evening to ask for appropriation of 4 different grant funds that the Madison County Problem Solving Court has received for 2025. Those are listed there on your spreadsheet. One, the first grant being the SIM grant, the second grant being from MACASA, who you heard from Director Steve Richardson earlier this evening. The third grant being from the Department of Correction, and our fourth grant being received from the Indiana Supreme Court. I can go through each one of those, but I'm requesting that appropriation be given from each of those grants to the various needs and services that are outlined per our request.
Judge Sims, I see 5 on here.
Okay, maybe I missed one. Well, the DOC is broken down into prosecutor, drug court fund, reentry court, mental health, and the Supreme Court has got 3, because they have to be allocated per the court that they serve the funds for. So, but they come under the same umbrella of the grant itself.
Any other questions? Take a motion to approve.
I'll move and pass
Councilor Steele.
the 9 grant,
I'm sorry?
the 9 grant items, that have been presented.
For all 9, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Is there a second? Second. Councilor Likens. Any other discussion or questions? All in in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Thank you.
Auditor.
Hello again, council. These three funds, the local road and street fund, 1169, highway fund, 1176, and the county wheel tax and surtax fund, 4926, were not on your budget ordinance. They are in your budget book, and you did pass the salary ordinance on them. We need to pass them for DOT to recognize them as being budgeted. I would like to just clear the record. The QMIT fund was not put in allow, so it was not in Gateway because it doesn't have anything to come across. The sheriff's miscellaneous funds were not put in allow, so we don't have anything to put in your budget book or a Gateway. These funds were put in allow. They were in your budget, but they didn't get on the ordinance because we're trying to write the ordinance 30 minutes before the meeting. I'll work with you very diligently to make sure when we come to adoption, we're ready to adopt. It takes me hours to get that work put in the Gateway. I can't produce an ordinance in 30 minutes. I request that you approve these budgets.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Councilor Likens, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Keller. Any other discussion?
I did go through these, and all the numbers are as presented, as the council approved, so this seems to be more of a formality.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. Public hearing items. Sheriff?
Hello again, council. These are new money items on the sheriff budget line. The overtime, that money are for our canine hours to correct an error on that was done in the computation of hours of their time. So that was that's why it's listed as overtime, because the canine officers are in the contract are allocated time for dog care at the end of duty day.
Are there any questions?
Or do you want me going like the within that same line of the sheriff line, the machinery equipment, that's that was a radar refund. We returned the radar back to the company and we got a refund on it.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
So I remember a few years ago, we talked about refunds and revenue streams and things like that, and if I could have something clarified, I guess when I've talked to the State Board of Accounts, obviously it's up to the council what to decide. But I think many times, and I'm not questioning the overtime, that I'm just asking about the machinery. If things are refunded with other departments, or if there are rebates, I think typically they advise us to not mess with next year's revenue stream. Yeah, it was great, we got a refund or a rebate, but that was last year's and it just needs to fall back into the general fund. And if for some reason you would need money for this, that would be a new appropriation, like hopefully after August or sometime. That would just be my 2 cents for what it's worth. I think in the past we have had other departments that have had those things, and just because we're kind of messing with last year's things, that was her advice from SBOA.
Yeah, 4 of those items are 2024, came from the 2024 budget. 2024 budget's already closed, Todd, we can't, and you don't have any encumbrances.
No.
That's been our practice in the past. Todd, I meant to ask us about how much, I don't know if you go by department or just generally, I know we estimate how much miscellaneous revenue comes in, and we decide not to mess with the nickels and dimes or even some larger amounts, unless it has a specific, for instance, you had a car that was wrecked, you had to prepay for everything, and you got the reinsurance and based reimbursement, and we put that back in the machinery and equipment. Those things make a lot of sense. But taking stuff you spent in 2024, I know in the medical, I thought we put additional money in the medical. Now you're wanting to put back in the medical with Diana or Ms. Likens' comment that if you need it later in the year, we'll address it. Unless you, for instance, your radar, if you send it back and you're going to buy another one to replace it immediately, justify it that way.
No, Council, I'm not opposed to it. I mean, it's all general fund money, so I'm not opposed to what line it goes to. I just, the last 2 budget cycles that the money's been taken, I come back, I get pillared by asking for more money for something that was taken from us in the first place. So,
Our budget request was reduced. It wasn't
so well, adjusted, yes, you're correct. So the council can do whatever they want with the money. We was asked for it, you say no, and put it in general fund, that's fine as well. Like the other, on the jail side, on down, where you get into the operating supply of a 2,200, that's another rebate. The medicine was overpayments, but we know we're going to go through a lot of medicine on the jail side. So but like Ms. Likens said, if we get down to August or September, we'll have a lot better handle on where we are on the medicine line.
Well, and I just feel like it could prohibit all the other departments. I mean, I guess
No.
I've just been messaged that, a lot of other departments have had this in the past, and that's been whatever the council decides. I just want to make a judgment.
It's been our practice, and we still listen. And we have justification that makes sense. We usually accommodate it. But in January, I hope you don't say you're going to need it.
Well, I kind of looked over these as well and compared what the requested budget was for 2025 and what we appropriated, what we adopted. And all 3 of those lines were considerably less. Well, not considerably, some of them were, but they were less. So he is going to come back and ask for more as long as we realize that. I understand it makes a cleaner process probably to put it back into the general fund and then come back and ask for it when you need it. But it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Well, but as we said too, we're in a little different situation this year. So I don't think that there's any way that we're going to be able to just accommodate, obviously there's no blank check. So, saying, well, if you need it later, no promises, obviously, but everybody has had to cut back this year, and we're just worried about all the new changes coming.
So Sheriff, the overtime correction, that's something that needs to be made up.
Yes.
And the $5,000 matrix correction, those 2 items are, yes. Does anyone see that they're not needed to adjust?
Are you making a motion?
Oh, I can.
Why don't you?
I want to make sure before my motion I'm going to be correct.
What did you come up with the 5,000 for?
125 by.
Oh, so it was 5,000 total.
It's the collective.
Right, but if you pull off what we're talking about not giving him the money
Right,
for
the medicine.
medicine.
Just do it one by one.
We'll just do it, we'll do it one by one. So I'll take a motion on the overtime pay.
So moved. Second.
Councilor Grabowski and Councilor Steele. Is there discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Point of order.
And opposed?
One moment.
Cheryl,
Point of order.
Public.
Thank you, public comment.
yeah.
Yes, thank you, I appreciate that. It's time for public comment on this issue. If anybody has anything they'd like to say, feel free to share your name and address and what you have to put in.
Catherine Callahan Lapel. Perhaps if this council met in December, you wouldn't be putting the sheriff in a position that he has to come ask for money in 2025. So maybe for what it's worth, you should put that to consideration that you meet in December for the public and for the different departments. And he wouldn't have to stand up here and ask you for new money.
Anybody else?
Cheryl McKinney, 46012. As a nurse, I'm very concerned that you're not giving him money today for medicine.
Yep.
He cannot anticipate the needs of those inmates, and those needs have to be met. And if you don't meet their medical needs,
then you'll be in court. And that'll cost you a lot more than $17,000.
Anyone else? We have a motion and a second. This is for the overtime. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Next is the issue of machinery.
We need a motion.
We would need a motion to pass it. Is there a motion?
But that's the one you want to take back to the general fund. That's
1,200 rough.
$1199.25.
Are you, and you're fine with that?
There's no motion. Next issue is the longevity pay of $5,000.
All the 125s and the payroll lines. Anything else, Sheriff?
No, that's just for the longevity / seniority for
I
this
make a
year.
motion to approve.
Councilor Likens, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Grabowski. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Favor, ask the public. please.
Actually, I was gathering the public was commenting on all of those. So if there's any public comment with regard to longevity.
Catherine Callahan LaPel. If you're not going to meet in December, you can take your salaries and donate it to the sheriffs.
Any other comment? Okay, we have supplies. And
We need to vote, please.
what's that? Yes, we have a motion and a second on the longevity. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. Okay, supplies. And medicine. Is there a motion? Seeing none? We'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Salary ordinances? We have four budget ordinances, or salary ordinances, sorry about that. Two, more than that. Okay, we have a salary ordinance with regard to the stop grant.
2025-1C stop grant.
Yes.
I'll move, we accept.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Likens? Any discussion? Reminder that if this passes unanimously, it's passed in one reading. If it's not, it has to go to the next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That salary ordinance passed. The next salary ordinance is Central Dispatch, 2025-1D. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilor North, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Keller, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Salary ordinance with regard to sex offender supplement fund, 2025-1E. Is there a motion?
Move.
Councilor Steele, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Likens, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Passes. The next is the High Tech Crime Unit Fund, salary ordinance 2025-1F. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Second.
Councilor Steele and Councilor Keller. Thank you. Is there discussion? All in favor, say aye. And
Aye.
opposed? Salary ordinance for the DOC. Prosecutor Drug Court Reentry Mental Health 2025 1G. Is there a motion? Councilor Keller, is there a second? Second. Councilor Culp, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. Salary ordinance, general fund, sheriff and jail, the 2025 1H ordinance.
Make a motion to approve.
Councilor Likens, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Grabowski, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. Public comment. If anyone wants to share any public comment, we have 3. First on the list, Mr. Sargent. A reminder that you speak up so we can hear, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Your name and address.
Everybody's used to me. I'm a loudmouth, so that'll not be a problem. My name is David Sargent. I live at 609 Imy Lane. I'm here as the Facebook administrator for Citizens for a New Morgue and Coroner's Office in Madison County. And if you'd like for me to give a little bit of background before I go into our request, we keep statistics on the Coroner's Office. We just received our statistics for the Coroner's Office I'd like to share with you. In 2024, the Coroner's Office responded to 417 deaths in Madison County. They did 151 autopsies. That comes out to 34.75 runs per month that the Coroner's Office has had to do, and 12.58 autopsies a month the coroners had to do. They also have to respond to administrative runs, phone calls, correspondence, and everything. I know that the council has looked before at a full-time administrative deputy for the Coroner's Office. That would be something that you may want to consider if the budget allows at a future time. But the reason for this tonight is the coroner is a new coroner with the training that's required in any command position. There is a thing called the International Association of Coroners and Medical Examiners Convention out in Las Vegas, July 20th through the 24th. If the council is considering a full-time administrative deputy, I've already sent an email to Coroner Madsen stating that we feel it would be a good idea, since he is a brand new coroner, to attend this conference. So if you would consider it, conference with him, see if it's something he would want to go to, and maybe take one of these chief deputies to. That way he'd get a better idea of the federal, state, local administrative processes, and also medical examiner things that he may need to conduct his office efficiently, because we all know there is no funding outside of the county for coroner's offices to do that. So the coroner's office is basically on a bread and water budget, just basic necessities. So thank you very much. I would ask that you consider this. I know you have to be subject matter experts on 100 different things, but we'd ask that you look at this, get with the coroner, see if this would be possible, so at least he can get an inkling and also convey it to you on where the coroner's office needs to be in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell.
Cheryl McKinney, 46012. I want to know if your intent as a council is to only have 11 meetings again this year.
We're here to receive information.
President, this is time for public comment, not debate nor
Yeah, no,
questioning.
we're here to receive information. You can share with us anything you'd like.
Okay.
Thank you.
Brian McCord. Mr. McCord here. Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. President, Mayor, our salaries are not hourly, nor are they by month. And you may correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't we only required to meet to pass a budget each year?
You're required to meet 2 times a year. the first meeting is to reorganize your officers, and the second meeting is to adopt the budget.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Next council meeting is slated for February 11th. I would like to make a request. I have a long-standing engagement that week that was long before actually the election, and wondered if we could put that back to the 18th. If that's not feasible for you, I understand.
Vice President.
We just wanted to put that request out.
Mr. President, I'll be on vacation, or I'll actually be in the air and unable to even attend remote on the 18th.
Okay?
I'm not able to attend the meeting.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can we go on the 11th?
You can still attend remote if you're possible, and
Yeah.
Mrs. Norrick will be able to
Yeah,
sit in
that's
for
great.
you.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. I'll take a motion.
Oh, so make a motion to adjourn?
Councilor Likens,
Second. Oh,
Councilor Keller. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
And opposed? Thank you.
Don't forget we got the slide.
Yes, there are a number of things that we don't need to go.
I'm sorry, I'm just so used to saying.
Yeah, he was. Perfect. He was amazing.
Somewhere and then like we were like an hour in, it was like it was all I could do, like search through all my stuff and try to where did these go? Oh, the baby. Working.
Right.
Hey, everybody, I want to remind everyone to tune in tonight. Tune in tonight at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. We will be discussing this meeting. I didn't get to get that up, but please tune in tonight at 9 p.m. and we will be on. Catherine and I will be on to discuss this meeting and a lot more. Tune in tonight at the Political Spotlight at 9 p.m. We will have that link up in just about 5 or 10 minutes, so you can go to the Political Spotlight on YouTube. You can also find it on Facebook, X, Rumble, and we will be everywhere you need to be. Take care. God bless. We'll see you at 9 p.m. tonight. Goodbye.